So good evening, everybody, and welcome to the first of 3 QuinnSights sessions. Today, we're going to focus on careers in marketing. My name is Mita Dutt. I'm the Placement and Mentoring Manager here in Quinn, and I'm delighted this evening to welcome our great panel of marketing specialists, all who've spent time here at the College of Business, and our host also, Professor Damian Mclaughlin. Before I hand over to Damian, I've just got a few pieces of housekeeping and reminders to run through with you. The chat function is disabled throughout the session, but please feel free to use the Q&A box, and your questions will be picked up at the Q&A session at the end. Also, just to let you know that we have 2 further sessions running at the same time, this time next week and the week after, on tech sector, and following that on entrepreneurs in person, we hope. And finally, just to remember that you all have excellent career support here, not just in Quinn, but via the Careers Network. And I'll send across details during the session of the Careers Network team and Leonie Phipps, who is your dedicated careers and skills consultant. Anyway, thank you very much for attending this evening. We're delighted to welcome you. And now I'm going to hand it over to Professor Damian Mclaughlin. Thank you.
Oh, thanks, Mita. Thanks for organising this terrific event. It's great to have the opportunity to speak to people about careers in marketing. We have the largest marketing group on the island of Ireland, and in our graduate school, we have over 400 students doing graduate programs in marketing. So we're pretty much the largest program, and we're joined tonight by 3 very distinguished graduates. Noel Quinn, who I'm not going to say what year Noel was, but Noel is marketing director. I'm going to say, and I'm sure my other 2 colleagues on the panel will disagree with this or might have something to say about it, but I'm sure Noel won't mind. And Noel works for the greatest brand in Ireland, which I think is the GAA. But I just noticed, Noel, the super branding. Unfortunately, the Dubs didn't win again this weekend, but I know that's not your fault. But I noticed the super branding that you had, the inclusiveness of the brand and the quality of the brand, the reach of the brand is pretty extraordinary. So it's great to have you here, and it's great to have a UCD person responsible for that. We're also joined by Elaine Caffrey, who's the digital, and I'm going to get this, director of digital and social media for a company called, I'm going to probably pronounce this incorrectly as well, Elaine. I'm going to say Mesa, but you can correct me.
That's right. Yeah, it's French. That's right.
Oh, my French is not bad, so that's pretty good.
Love that.
I'm going to get you to tell us a bit more about your company, because I think you get to work with some pretty cool.
I do.
That even though I am not cool, I thought some of the brands that you had were really cool. And we're also joined by somebody I've known for the best part of 25 years. Tom, sorry, it's that long. Maybe it's a little bit more than that even. I'm just trying to think of what years is now.
Oh, let's agree 25. Leave it at that.
It's been a while. It's been a while. Tom is a graduate of the school also, and I think he's graduated from UCD. I'm going to say 3 times now, Tom.
That's right.
Tom is B2B marketing director for, again, one of Ireland's great brands, the Bank of Ireland. So what we're going to do tonight is maybe I think a lot of people who come into commerce or into the College of Business in first year have some idea that they might like a career in business. A lot of times they do it because it's a well-known, what the 4 of us would call a well-known brand. It's a nice course to do. If you tell people you're doing commerce or B&L, people know what you're talking about. It's nice to do that. And very often people come in because they want to be accountants. Now, the world needs accountants. That's true. It just doesn't need any more of them. And so we're very keen that you would at least think about working in marketing. Now, as genuine marketing people, of course, we don't try and sell to you. We want to meet customer needs, identify unmet customer needs. So what we might do is I might ask my 3 friends to maybe briefly introduce themselves, say what your company does. I think a lot of people don't know what it is exactly that marketing people do. I think a lot of people think it's selling, which is a very honorable, well-paying and fast progressing career. And most of you are going to end up working in selling at some point, whether you're an accountant, a lawyer, or whatever it is. You just don't know that yet. There's nothing wrong with selling, or they think it's advertising, and it sort of isn't really either of those two things. So Elaine, partly because I'd love to know about these cool brands you work with, maybe you could tell us what exactly it is you do.
Yeah.
On a day-to-day basis. What does your long title actually mean? What kind of brands do you work with? Maybe tell us what a brand is.
Yeah.
And then tell us how you ended up there.
Yeah, no worries. So no pressure going first. Absolutely. Thanks for throwing me in there. But no, so I suppose I probably, like everyone, I think some probably say this, a bit of a unique kind of path to where I am now. Very briefly, I did my undergrad in GCU. I did a master's in DIT, and then I did my second master's in UCD. And I have to be honest, it was the best decision I made for my career. It was the first time that I had studied part-time at nighttime and worked. So I think as well for me and what I thought was the right route, doing that at nighttime while working actually was just phenomenal for me to be able to put things into practice while I was still learning. But yeah, I had a bit of an interesting background. I actually worked in sports for about 9 years before I worked at Mesa. So again, I worked at Basketball Ireland as their kind of lead marketing person before actually working with a small agency in Dublin called Legacy, which I'm sure Noel is familiar with. And they do a lot of work with the GAA. But to kind of get to where I am right now, I left Dublin, left a great job as a director of digital to go to New York. And I kind of stumbled across Mesa, and they reached out to me. It's a beauty incubator. So we're the largest beauty incubator in the world. Again, being honest, I was like, I'll never work in beauty ever. I have no interest, sports all day long. And I came into this company and I just really understood how different marketing roles can be to what we traditionally think they are. I think especially when we go sector by sector, we think we have an understanding of what your role will entail, and it really turns out to be something completely different. So I've actually worked at Mesa for about 5 years, a little bit over 5 years, and I've progressed through there to director of digital now. From a marketing perspective, a digital marketing perspective, on a day-to-day basis, I oversee about 12 to 14 brands that stem out of the beauty industry. So they work across hair care, skincare, cosmetics, and personal care. But we specialize in brands that are curated by celebrities. So we have some pretty cool people that we work with and that I work with personally. Drew Barrymore, Will Smith, Jada Smith, Priyanka Chopra Jonas, Taraji P. Henson. Like, we have lots of amazing people that we work with. And what we do is we get their ideas, they talk to us, we create the product, and we do everything from the curation of the product to what the need is, all the way through to bringing it to market. So where I come in is kind of near the mid to end part of the funnel. So getting content created, whether it is with agencies or whether it's with influencers and content creators, so that we can push what we need to sell online through social. So really specialized.
Hold on, Elaine. So if I'm a major celebrity like Drew Barrymore, she'd like to have a beauty product or a perfume or something like that.
Yeah.
So she calls Mesa and they come up with a product which matches her personality.
Basically.
And then you do the marketing for it.
Yeah. So bring it to life on social is where I kind of come into play.
Did you ever think you were going to end up doing that when you were?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. No.
So how did that happen?
Well, I don't really know myself, to be totally honest. In my interview, even with them, I remember them asking me lots of beauty questions, and I was really, really honest. And I was like, I don't specialize in beauty. I can tell you any rule for any sport around the world, but I don't know beauty. But I know I'm competent, very competent at digital and at social and at marketing. So I kind of just applied all of the things that I had learned across you know, kind of what I did at UCD, the work that I had done, and just kind of implemented how we brought those brands to life. So really different to kind of the sponsorship element of things that I was doing previously, and really focusing more on the like CPG, or as we say in Ireland, like FMCG sector of fast moving consumer goods, and bringing them to life.
That means products that we typically sell to the final consumer, right?
Yeah, so those kind of quick decisions that consumers make for products basically probably under €50, $50.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So although Elaine said she didn't want to work in beauty, she wanted to continue to work in sports. I think I could probably, I'm sort of thinking through a mental kind of list here. I think we have graduates of UCD, whether undergraduate or postgraduate, working for all the major fashion and beauty houses in the world, LVMH for sure, L'Oreal for sure. I'm just, off the top of my head, I'm just trying to think even what those brands are.
Yeah.
You know, Gucci, Prada.
Yeah, like I see people all the time. Even when I was in New York, like lots of Irish people that came from UCD. I went to a lot of UCD events when I was in New York, and so many people working for like the L'Oreals of the world, Revlon, MAC, like everything. It's like such a small world, and like the community at UCD, like I'm sure the majority of us probably didn't think that we would work for beauty brands in New York, but that's kind of like where it nets out. So it really took me by surprise how well I adapted to the industry and how much I enjoyed it, because it's just not what it seems from the outside.
I think the former CEO of Revlon is a UCD graduate. He was certainly on the board of the school. I'm going to check. I'll try to remember his name in a minute, but I'm pretty sure he's a UCD graduate. Thanks, Elaine. Noel, you're in sport. You haven't left sport, but you've got this kind of responsibility to manage this brand, but you've got about, I don't know how many people are members of the GAA, and you got to keep all those people happy, plus TV companies, plus players, plus it's pretty complex, right?
Yeah, it's not a burden. I wouldn't say it's a burden, but it's certainly a responsibility, Damian, and even everybody. But it's to quote every sporting manager at the minute when they say that cliche, Damian, it's a privilege though, and it is a privilege to work for the GAA. Conscious there might be some people attending that are maybe not familiar with the GAA, but it's Ireland's largest sporting organisation. So I'm the head of marketing and broadcast for the GAA, and I'm based in Croke Park Stadium. I'm a current UCD student. I'm a past UCD student. I think it's a good sign when you return to somewhere of probably the values and the experience you gain from a place when you're happy enough to be a repeat customer like I am at the moment. But yeah, I've been here a long number of years, Damian. I came in as a researcher actually when I was finishing my master's with yourself back in 2007. Yeah. Initially for a 3-month gig, which is now 15 years ago. And maybe like a lot of people on the call tonight, when I was trying to figure my way, my career path, and like you said, stock marketing was about sales and advertising, and it can be. But thankfully, in the last 15 years, I've learned it's about a lot more than that. It can be about broadcast. It can be about research. It can be about media buying or creative work. But I have worked my way through the commercial and marketing department here. I think Elaine's pathway already shows how a marketeer can find work in any industry they want: aviation, automobile, sports, FMCG. But sport has been my passion, and to marry sport and marketing and business and commercial has been essentially a dream job. We'll look forward to taking in full houses for 7 concerts here in Croke Park this year. We'll have maybe 50,000 Dublin and Mayo supporters here in 2 weeks' time, which is great after the pandemic. And it's my responsibility to market those games. So it's the promotion of the competitions and the GAA brand, be a custodian of the GAA brand, essentially.
I thought you were going to say it'd be great because the Dubs have a chance to beat somebody at last, but you were thinking about something different. Yeah,
well, look, everybody likes to see the dominant sporting franchise or team around the world eventually beaten, and that's what we're experiencing at the minute. But it's great for the fans. It's great for the fans.
It's temporary, but Noel, you mentioned a whole bunch of things on the way through, and there's 2 things which I think are fabulously interesting areas. and might be of interest to our friends on the call today. One is broadcast, and the other was media buying. So maybe just tell us about broadcast, because I mean that used to mean TV, but I guess it means more than that today.
Yeah, and some people would say, well, it's broadcast marketing, and of course it is, because to my mind, it is the quickest, biggest way for us to send our message to, in the instance of an All-Ireland final, 1 million people, 1.5 million people will watch the All-Ireland final, which in an Ireland of 5 million is pretty good. You mentioned membership earlier, Damian. We've around 1 million people who claim membership, so we have critical mass on the ground in every Boreen, village, town, city around the country. But in terms of broadcast, we have evolved hugely in the last few years. Traditional marketing around print advertising and TV is brilliant. But on come match day, we have BBC, Sky Sports, RTE, TG Car producing 2 hours of live coverage, the fastest field sport in the world. And like you said, it used to be linear television. You watch RTE 1 or 2. And in the last probably particularly 7 to 8 years, the GAA has tried to embrace the digital wave. We've set up our own streaming platform. A lot of attendees probably have subscriptions to Netflix or Amazon Prime or Spotify. So we have our own version of that in GAA Go, which is our international streaming service. So if you have relatives in Sydney or Beijing or wherever, they can watch a match and subscribe. So our own broadcast model has changed massively from 20 television games per year to probably closer to 200 games broadcast over the 52 weeks. So again, I'm responsible for negotiating the broadcast contracts with Sky Sports, with RTE, with BBC, with Off the Ball, all as a means to try and maximize the exposure around our games, promote our message about what we're about our tagline, where we all belong. And yeah, it's been a major change in the last few years. I mean, media buying and TV and print has been fairly static, but broadcast is where we've seen massive gains. A lot of our membership are consuming stuff through 2 or 3 screens at any given time. So people are watching shorter clips. They're streaming the games rather than watching on television. Best example of that is last weekend. Probably 25% of our audience watching the Dublin Kerry game watched online rather than on television. So broadcast is a growing space for us. In terms of media buying, you mentioned there, we work with numerous agencies, and the good thing about marketing is you're not just working with your own colleagues or 1 or 2 stakeholders. You're working with research agencies and experiential marketing agencies, PR agencies, media buying agencies. And essentially what that is allocating a budget towards how much you will spend on television to promote the upcoming GAA club season or the Donegal season ticket or the latest gambling awareness campaign we're pushing out there. It's about allocating money towards radio or print or digital, local media or national media, programmatic display and digital media, which obviously Elaine is more of an expert in. So media buying is something that is probably more of a science and a little bit of an art, but probably to give people tuning in, it's a different flavor of what marketing brings, what a marketing discipline is all about.
So a marketing graduate from UCD, in your case, a 3-time graduate, your part of that job is the negotiation of TV contracts with the major international, domestic and international broadcast partners. And then another part of the job is what you call media buying, which is, how do you decide what channels you are going to distribute your message through? I mean, it's a fairly varied kind of job, Noel, isn't it?
Yeah, and some would argue it's perhaps not best that one person does both jobs. It's a balancing act because we're a participatory association. Yeah. So my job from a marketing perspective is bums on seats. It's selling tickets. It's a call to action to go and attend the match this weekend in Ballybofey or Thurles or Hartlepool. On the other hand, I'm trying to extol the virtues of how great the Sky Sports broadcast is. You should really stay at home and put your feet up, sit on the couch and watch this. So it's about getting that balancing act. Yeah. Of course, broadcast is for those who cannot attend or those who are living abroad and want to stream it. But it is a balancing act about getting people to attend physically and those who cannot do that to watch.
Yeah. So we've got some variation here in the jobs already. Elaine is working with Drew Barrymore and Jada Pinkett Smith, if I'm pronouncing her name correctly, Elaine, and basically launching perfumes and other beauty products. Noel, on the other hand, is negotiating with TV companies and launching digital apps that I certainly enjoy to watch games that are not on TV. Tom, you're the most experienced of us all as professional marketeer here, and you're in a different space again then, which is what we would all call B2B or business to business. So companies selling to companies, I presume. Again, with like an iconic brand in Ireland, the Bank of Ireland. Tell us a little bit about what you do day to day and how you ended up here.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, good evening, everyone. And unfortunately, I can't compete with Drew Barrymore or the GA fixtures list. But anyway, I'll do my best to explain what I do. I'm really showing my age now. I was the first year of business and legal studies when it launched. And I remember everybody in my class wants to become a lawyer. I was probably one of about 20 people who wanted to do marketing. And I went to do the higher diploma, as it was then, in marketing practice. And really, it was only through there that I really got a love of marketing. And as you say, I work in B2B at the moment, but I had a kind of varied career before then, just to show kind of, I suppose, that the way that you can, or the funny ways that your career can evolve as you go through. I used to work in FMCG, so I worked in companies like GlaxoSmithKline and Diageo, Kellogg's, Greenall Foods, back in the day. So kind of would have, that was back in my day, that were kind of the traditional maybe go-to place was FMCG, where you learned a lot. When you join companies like that, you learn a lot about marketing when you're in university, when you're in your undergrad and your postgrad, but really kind of all of those companies then have their own ways of marketing, which you learn as you go through as well. But then about 8 years ago, joined Bank of Ireland. And funny enough, just as the way things evolve, I felt at the time that I had my experience was too maybe narrow in FMCG. I get great big brand experience and great trading experience, all that good experience that you get in an FMCG company, but I wasn't getting a lot of digital experience, or I didn't have a lot of experience of planning more sophisticated sales and marketing journeys. So actually one of the things I did, which maybe similar to Noel, I went back and did the masters in I did a master's in digital only a few years back, which I guess just shows as well the importance of you're never done with education, you're never done learning. And I found that really, really good, because it's really helped me in the role that that I've been doing up until recently. Because I would say now in B2B marketing, everything that we do is digitally based. Everything that we do is focused on either generating a lead, and actually generating real business, selling loans or selling credit cards, whatever the case may be, or else using social media, using digital to help the sales team plan a journey or nurture a customer along to a sales journey. So that's been really invaluable. But yeah, I would think it's the work is quite varied. I mean, when you're working in FMCG, I would say it's been more about big brand advertising, developing big campaigns, TV-led campaigns. It's also been about trading, working with sales team to help do the right trading strategy. One of the things I miss from FMCG is product development, innovation, being able to kind of identify a gap in the market and be able to develop products to do that. When you work at a bank, you don't really get those opportunities. So the role in the bank or B2B is more about comms, it's more about digital, it's more about pulling the levers of different marketing activities. Again, either to develop a lead or to help the business teams convert on a sales journey. But yeah, kind of very, very varied overall.
Yeah, it's in a sense, I appreciate the B2B, the consumer side, and the service side. Consumer side relaying the service side with Noel, but a lot of the action and a lot of the sort of heavy, high value contracts are in the B2B space generally, Tom, aren't they? I mean, I won't say it's not that it's more serious, but if Elaine's average price for a product sale is $50 or €50, yours could be 50 million or 5 million, or I mean, it's a lot of much bigger kind of contracts like that, right?
It is, and I suppose I work across everything. When I say B2B, I actually mean farmers, SMEs, up to large corporates. It's everything in that space. But you're right, yeah, it tends to be larger sales. The sales journey or the sales process tends to be longer than B2B. Obviously, in FMCG, it's an instant sale. B2B, it's a longer sales process, and marketing plays a role through that process, whether identifying a customer, client, developing sales supports or content to nurture that that customer through a sales journey, helping either converting ourselves as we do, and more and more, by the way, it's marketing owning a sales channel. It's marketing with a target on their heads. They need to show that they're delivering sales, and we can do that now through digital and social and our own digital channels, which is great, because it's very empowering to know that actually you're delivering a core number at the end of every week. Yeah. But it's different as well in that it's traditionally your B2B might have been viewed as more, well, actually it's more functional or rational message. Businesses respond to more fashion, but that's not really true either. I know LinkedIn and Walker have done studies recently to show that business customers respond to emotion in the same way, maybe not to the same extent as in B2C, but certainly something we've learned is not to fall into the trap of being too rational or being too logical in our comms. And actually, you need to have a great brand. You need to build a great brand in the same way that you do as B2C, and also you need to use really clever, creative, and a really emotive comms to do that as well. Because at the end of the day, we're B2B or B2C, we're all consumers.
Yeah, and we see, obviously the Bank of Ireland B2B advertising, we wouldn't see that much of unless you're a customer. But if you look at the great B2B brands like IBM, John Deere, Caterpillar, their campaigns, B2B brands are as creative and as insightful as any consumer brand. I teach B2B, so I'm very enthusiastic about it. So
I think the great thing about B2B as well, that you do have, you might be very, very narrow in, your comms or your media choice. But for instance, if you're doing a campaign to target, SMEs, as recently, it was TV led, because, there's 250,000 of them. Actually, still the most efficient way, and the way to build your brand in the West Bay is often still through TV. So, radio, TV, press, and I know they're more traditional channels, but they would still be used to build the brand in particular. They might not be the best direct response, but over the long term, still proven to be the best way to build your brand, even for that customer.
If you listened carefully, or if you're listening back to this video at a later point, because we're recording, play back these words that our three friends have used, and all of the words that are being used are words that professional marketing people use. I'm just struck by this in terms of, for example, direct response. There's a lot of really important words that marketeers use being used by all three colleagues tonight. We got a couple of questions coming in, but I want to ask a question. The three of you don't have to answer, but I'm going to ask the three of you, and whoever would like to answer, or if you'd like to join in, great. I met a class today for the first time, and marketing group, and I said, the thing I like most about marketing is that I have never taught the same marketing course twice, because every time you come back to your material, something has changed on the consumer side, on the channel options that you have, so the consumer is different today post-pandemic. Options for communications today. I saw a large company today was advertising, and I think it was in the beauty business. Elaine, one of our graduates on LinkedIn, they're setting up a TikTok studio in their company to build their own comms out in-house. I think the coolest thing about marketing is that it just changes all the time. Is that am I overstating that, or is that just over enthusiasm on my part?
No, I don't think so. I think I can speak, I guess, on behalf of social and digital. As someone who, I'm living, breathing it across 14 brands every day. Every single day, there's a new feature, a new app, something new that we need to be aware of. So I tell my team constantly, and they're all like, American, so I'm very Irish about it, but I'm like, every day is a school day. Like, we just don't stop learning. Like when you talked about like TikTok there, like similarly, like I've actually built out the exact same system. So I'm living in Ireland now permanently and just moved back from New York, but still working for the New York company. And I'm just back from LA, where we just built a new TikTok studio there for our internal comms. I'm really working with content creators to give them a space that they can create content that will ensure it is, of the standard that we need for paid media advertising. So absolutely, it changes consistently, and from very small things like, the format of the content to what's trending, what's new. One thing that we find, especially when you're representing, so I also oversee the digital social for the celebrities as well. You're consistently jumping on new trends, and it's just about being super reactive and knowing what you can create in that moment if you need to jump on a viral moment. So I think, like, to your point, yes, every single day is different, but I also think that you're consistently learning something new. Even when you think you've mastered it, there's like something that crops up. And honestly, if I get one more email about a new social platform,
Sure, yeah.
I'm just going to shut down. But until then, just keep on downloading them and keep on uploading content.
Yeah, no, that change for a brand which is a cultural icon like the GAA in Ireland, that kind of change is got to be very challenging. I mean, I've forgotten what your slogan is, but I know the intent of it, and I saw it on TV. Where we all belong.
Where we all belong, Damian. But
I thought it was a beautiful thing to do. It's a beautiful slogan. Yeah.
Yeah, I think they say imitation is the greatest form of flattery, and I see a number of other sporting NGBs this week with a similar twist on their own plans. But the fact that people can't exactly remember the GA strapline doesn't bother myself or the team here, actually, given the fact that the sentiment is generally known. Exactly, it's a place of inclusion for everybody. To your point about how things change and how you've never taught the same marketing class, and I can vouch the same marketing course, and I can vouch for that, having been in the classroom. I suppose when I had done my initial master's, digital marketing was, we spoke about it briefly for a day, for a couple of hours. It wasn't certainly a module. And then you morph it forward 10, 15 years, and it is, it's a lane's world, and it has shown the biggest probably change in how we market. And people have the power on their phones to market themselves, whether they're an influencer or become an ambassador for a brand. The power shift from a Unilever or a PepsiCo or a Heinz, who used to control basically the marketing message. I mean, Damian Mclaughlin or Tom Cronin or, UCD can be as powerful as anybody, when they get their 15 minutes of fame. So digital has changed that completely. And the good thing for people listening tonight is the fact that, and I would say this, of course, but, a marketing undergraduateship from UCD, it'll give you the basis. You'll have the tools to work in the industry you want. There will be changes in the industry. There'll be changes in patterns and human behavior, whether they love having a phone stuck to their hand every minute of every day or whether they don't. The fact is they'll still have the marketing tools to adapt. So things will no doubt continue to change. But I think the good news is for people who would have a UCD background is they'll have the ability to adapt and find a career that they want to work in, regardless.
Tom, could I just pick up on Noel's comments with you? I mean, you must have hired many marketing people over the years in the various great companies that you've worked for. One of the questions that we've had is, are there certain subjects that you should take? Is there certain kind of placements or work experiences that you should look for if you want to build a career in marketing? For you hiring a graduate, what are the kind of things that you would look at?
Yeah, I think in hiring a graduate, you like to see that. I suppose you like to see that they have that get up and go and that initiative to get involved in different things and enjoy work. I mean, one of the things that I've looked at when looking for graduates is even sales experience. Have you done sales jobs through the time? Do you enjoy that? It can be difficult. One of the things about marketing, I certainly remember when I graduated, is that it can be difficult to get experience in the job that you like initially. You won't necessarily find your dream job or your dream area straight off. So you may have to find a few different areas to work within. But I would say it's great if you can show that you have some sales experience, working in a shop, working in anything like that. Is a great start. But then even
a sales assistant in Brown Thomas or Pennies, or that's sales experience, right? That's what you mean. You don't.
Of course, yeah, and Elaine might be better at that, but I think you're also looking for great social profiles and looking for graduates who understand social really well on different channels, use them well, aren't afraid maybe to develop their own voice on there. I mean, I think you go. As you go a bit further in, you're looking for a bit more relevant experience in a particular area. But you know what, I would just say overall, it's not about the experience per se. One of the great things about marketing, and to be trite about it, I've gone from selling, sports drinks to frozen pizza to bank loans, and I don't think in the companies that I've worked in, most of the other disciplines in there haven't done that. They tend to more stay within the area that they work in. But the great thing about marketing, and I think it's a good learning as you go through your career, that it's not the experience that you have per se, it's not the industry experience, it's the capabilities and the skills that you build up from that experience over the years. So just to go back to the original question, I think for graduates, it's just showing that capability, showing that you can use the limited experience that you're going to have as a graduate, showing that you can use that build those capabilities and skills from the jobs you have.
I like that. Another. I actually checked. Maeve Houlihan is listening. Thanks, Maeve, and hi to you and Aoife. The guy who's CEO of Revlon is actually Alan Ennis, and Alan did the BCom, graduated in '91, just before I arrived in UCD. Unfortunately, he did accounting, but of course became a great marketeer. He learned and became a great marketeer afterwards. Elaine, one of the things which Tom has called out there, I like this idea because this is something you can do today, is the idea of developing your own voice. Now, it's easy for us to have LinkedIn pages and Twitter and so on. A lot of employers look at these pages and what they see from your Instagram is, well, here's the photos of when my head was shaved in Ibiza last year. Or somebody, I don't know whether women shave off other women's eyebrows, but men tend to shave off each other's eyebrows in certain situations. That's not quite what Tom means, is it?
Right. Yeah. So I think one of the things that I always do when we're hiring, you automatically check people's social profiles. So if you feel like that you're not, some of us in marketing are creative, some of us are not, and it's okay if you're in the latter where you're just not a creative. You can still be super analytical. And I think Noel had mentioned it earlier as well. It's when you get into media buying, and when you are working with the Facebooks and Instagrams of the world with these big budgets of how you're going to push content, you don't need that creative element. But if you are looking to work in more of a creative role, it's always great to have a profile that is, first of all, just super clean. If you're going to be public, that's all I'll say is just keep it clean, keep it just tidy, keep it tidy, keep it on brand for you. Of if you knew an employer was looking at it, would you be happy what it looks like? One thing that I think is really funny is a lot of social people that work in social will be we share content with each other, and it's your brand pages are pristine and the content's amazing and it's all reels and it's just gorgeous, beautiful content. And then you go to that person's page and it's the last time they posted was 2002. And it's also because it's the nature of the job. You put your time and effort into your brand rather than yourself. Yeah. But if you want to work in a creative role, I absolutely would recommend spending that little bit more time at curating the content that you are posting. But I think to Tom's point as well, I thought it was great what he mentioned. It's no one's expecting you to come into a role as a recent graduate with a ton of experience. None of us have. To Tom's point, we've all sold everything from pizzas to, I don't know, fuzzy slippers that you put in a microwave. I similarly have done all of the odd things, and it's that kind of more that attitude of always wanting to learn and always wanting to kind of continue to progress is what I find more kind of admirable, because no one's expecting a graduate to come in and say, oh, actually I have 5 years experience and they're 19. It doesn't exist. So Yeah, from my point of view, I don't think it is about experience. It's just about like putting yourself in a position that, you know, you're pushing, you're willing to push yourself.
But it is possible on LinkedIn or on Instagram. You know, I know she's quite experienced now, but when she was a student, she built her own travel blog, and it was very nicely done. It wasn't you know, television standard, but every time she went somewhere, she would do some photographs, she'd do some talk to camera, she'd have some little tips, and it helped her to get her first job because she knew what she was trying to do. It might not have been as good as you would have done with, you know, the experience that you have, but it indicated some kind of intent.
And I think that's the most important thing. It's the ambition to show that you are interested in that particular section of marketing. Like, I know that both guys have mentioned it as well. There's so many different levels. Like, you can be super granular and focus really, like, you know, quite detailed in and narrow in on like something like media buying, or you can be like super broad and wide and kind of want to have a bit of everything. It also depends on the company, but I think it's just about your intention that you set when you're posting content, just to be cognizant of that.
The one of the things which we've talked about is the idea of creatives. Sometimes people, when they get into marketing, as Elaine has said, they are creative types, but most of those people don't do the BCom, and most of them don't do the MSc in marketing or digital marketing. Most of those people come from art schools and design schools. So most people on our side who are on the track that you're on, not 100%, but end up as what I guess, I don't know whether we still call them suits or not, but by and large they're suits. Nobody wears a suit anymore except professors, but we still call them the suits, right? And they are the more analytical type. So if you're a quieter kind of person, you don't have to be a big outrageous personality like our three guests are, filling a room with ideas. You don't have to be that person to be successful in marketing. We do have some of those people, but we also have this other type.
Yeah, I think, and listen, my Instagram's open. It's nothing to look at. Like, no one would know that I run content for so many brands, just because I don't put my time and energy into that, because that's not where I see my value. But to your point, it's where you want to see yourself grow and develop, and it's also something that you can do on the side if you want to continue to like explore that while you're still kind of studying and kind of focusing more on that.
No, there's two questions here I want to ask you. One is about the GAA, and it's the GAA question is, do you think the Dubs can win the All-Ireland this year? Oh no, that's not it. They want to know about the challenges of managing a heritage brand. I've actually already asked you that question in class, so we don't need the answer to that again. But the question I wanted to ask you, that is a question about managing the brand. The other question I wanted to ask, and I didn't think it was fair to ask Elaine this question, but somebody would like to know, I think it's a very good question. Is it better to focus on digital marketing or marketing in general for a career? There's no right answer to that, I guess, but what's your view?
Personal preference, really. The good news is, if people do want to only specialize in digital marketing, it's a completely new world now versus even 5 years ago. And there'll be more than enough cool work that will take you all around the world if you just want to specialize in digital marketing. But it's probably a personal preference. If people are unsure, a gateway is probably always a more traditional marketing undergraduateship, like what I did. Yeah. But I think it's a personal preference. But digital was somewhat of a niche, years ago, but now it's absolutely, it could be the thing in a company. The point about the Irish Heritage brand.
Let me just comment on that for 1 second. I don't think that there's any course in marketing today that is not digital in focus, because it's not. I mean, you might not be doing the tools and specific techniques that the MSc in digital marketing does, or in our third year course in social and digital marketing. But I think every course that you take, undergraduate and postgraduate in marketing in UCD, has a digital dimension to it. So I think it's, as Noel says, it's not a one or the other choice anymore, really.
Yeah, and one thing I'll just say on that as well is, in my point of view, I wouldn't even distinguish between marketing and between digital marketing anymore. For me, it's all marketing. So I would never go out and specifically look to focus on a particular avenue of that, because I think every single element in marketing is touched by digital. But even when you hear Tom talking about like B2B, we would have never thought that digital would have impacted like how B2B works, and it does now. And similar to like Noel, like you're still selling people to get bums on seats, but then you're also like, hey, you should download our app. So there's always going to be digital in every element of marketing, and it's only going to get, you know, deeper as we go.
Well said. Noel, the management of the heritage brand, you have a big responsibility, as you said yourself.
And just quickly before that, Damian, there was a mention there about big personalities on the panel. For anybody listening who is perhaps a little bit quieter or shy, I think it's an important point to make that just because you mightn't be the extrovert and the charismatic, noisy person in the room, you can still be the killer marketer. Like a lot of the people I work with are these data scientists who unlock that insight from the research. And at the end of the day, marketing is about identifying what you can do better than your competitor. And sometimes it's the quietest person in the room that does that. So it's just a small point that it's not necessarily the big and bubbly personalities that succeed in marketing.
100%.
On the heritage piece, one thing I think Ireland Inc. does well is big brands, iconic brands. If it's Guinness or Riverdance or Fáilte Ireland tourism, we do that well. The GAA is thankfully one of Ireland's most recognized brands. But like that, we had a challenge a few years ago where people did feel a little disconnected. Crow Park and the Suits, and what about the grassroots level? So we had a job to try and reconnect people with that Where We All Belong campaign, and that's what that was aiming to do. Is it challenging? It's a challenge because we've never had as much competition from other sports, but aside from that, from Twitch, from e-gaming, from going to the cinema, from watching Netflix, from going for a walk, whatever you want. So we've never had a more competitive market. Thankfully, it's a product or service, if you want to call it that, a brand that people get very passionate about. It's their identity, it's their family network. So it's not like selling ice to the Eskimos. I'm not selling toothpaste or a commodity, a vanilla brand. It's something that gets the heart thumping. So it's not as challenging as you'd think without trying to talk myself out of a job, but 80,000 people watching a guy catch a ball from the sky on a Sunday who will then go teach your kids the next day. The amateur ethos is our biggest strength. It's our biggest weakness at the same time. But that access you get to Cian Lynch or Michael Murphy, you probably don't get that with Mo Salah or LeBron James. You know, so it's we have a lot of quirks that make us that little bit more unique, which makes us that little bit more compelling and unique.
We're just towards the end of our time. I'm going to ask the three of you for your number one piece of advice to somebody who's maybe thinking about a career in marketing, and maybe I'll give you a moment to think about that. And just to say that in second year we have a course which we really like, which is taught by 3 or 4, depending on the year, younger faculty members, all full-time in the school. And basically what we do is we pick a series of themes that we think are important to contemporary marketing, and we talk about that in detail. So one of the things we talk about is the nature of marketing work. We talk about the psychology of consumer behavior. We think about the role of numbers in marketing. We try to work out how do you arrive at answers in marketing. So it's a very comprehensive but kind of fun but kind of serious, give you a taste of the whole thing. In third year then, or final year, depending on your internship options, we cover off the major options in terms of marketing. So we have insights and research. We have a course on strategy. We have a course on consumer behavior. We have 2 courses on communications. One is marketing comms in the digital era, and the other is on social and digital. So we cover off all of these options. And you know, many people after their undergraduate degree go directly to work in marketing. The BCom, B&L, all of these degrees in UC are very well regarded by employees. I have also made a commitment to IFA, which I ultimately will deliver on, that we will, as a group, as a marketing group, support more internships, specifically in marketing over the next 12 months. So if I'm making that promise to you again in front of friends and being recorded, so you can call me on it. And then in the Graduate School of Business, We have the MSc in marketing, where people who are interested in careers in branding usually go to. We have the MSc in digital marketing, where people who want to do what Elaine is doing now usually go to. Many of those people end up working. Most people in the MSc in marketing go to branded companies like the ones we mentioned, L'Oreal, Revlon, but not just in that sector, you know, across all brands, the car industry and so on. We have the MSc in digital marketing, which is what Elaine and Tom did. Many of those people, not all of them, go to work for Google and Facebook and LinkedIn and all those other cool companies. We have a new program as the MSc in marketing and retail innovation. It's not about minding a shop. All firms today, if you listen to the comments that all three of our friends have made, they're all retailing something to somebody, particularly Noel. I mean, he's selling bums on seats. You would never think of him as a retailer, but that's what he's doing. And we focus on the innovation aspects of retail. And then the program that Tom did back in the day, which he called the higher diploma in marketing practice, is now the MSc in marketing practice. This is basically a consulting firm that we run with students, where you work on 5 to 7 client assignments for real companies. We do it for money. During your time in the school, you do some coursework, but you're in the office 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, and the people from that program end up everywhere. Digital marketing roles, brand management roles, a lot go into sports marketing, a lot go into the car industry actually, and a lot actually go into the alcohol business. I've just counted my own contacts. I don't really know why that is, but it's a big industry in Ireland. So that's sort of what the future lays out like. So I'll start with, I don't mind who goes first. Noel, you want to, Tom, who wants to go first? Number one.
I'll jump in there.
Thanks, Noel.
In a sentence, I'd say to anyway, listen, have a plan, have a loose plan. And I don't mean, you know, who do you want to work for in 5 years, but even considering, well, Elaine was interesting. She said she was sports and then she deviated to beauty. But I wanted to work in sports, and I was prepared to be flexible in whether that was for a governing body or a sponsor or a team or a franchise if I was working abroad. So I think it's a good idea for somebody who's working in marketing to have a sense of whether they would like to work in an aviation industry or a financial industry. And then within that, would they like to be a marketing communications person, a research person, a brand person, or a sponsorship person? And of course, that can change over time. But have a loose plan that you're prepared to flex on, and consistently be a lifelong learner. Keep chipping away at diplomas and extra postgrad stuff. It can never help, and you build your network out from that as well. So that'd be my.
That's super advice. Elaine, wanna go next?
Yeah, what Noel said. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, what Noel said plus.
Yeah, it was good.
Really, yeah, what he said. Really firm believer of every day is a school day. Don't stop learning ever, because there's just so much that's happening and changing, and just be open to it. And like, honestly, again, like, be open. Like, I honestly just really want to confirm, I was like, I'll never work in beauty. So I went to that interview, and like, it's my dream job. I love it, and I love what I've been able to do, and it opened up so many doors for me. So just be open to kind of things that they might not be on your path, but if they fall on your lap, it's probably for a reason. So have a look, go to the interview, like, get as much practice as you can. And as people that are like, you know, very, very early in your career and still in education, like, just be open, like, be open to trying to do internships, be open to trying new sectors, and just see what falls, and reach out to people. Don't be afraid to reach out. Like, if anybody wants to reach out to me on LinkedIn, like, please do. I find that, you know, sometimes it can be difficult if you're like, oh, I don't want to send that, but we've all done it. Like, everyone on this call has had to send something and ask somebody for advice or a link to so-and-so. Like, to Noel's point, when you know where you want to work, if you go online and have a look at who else works there, that maybe you're at UCD or a friend of a friend, like, just reach out. Everybody wants to help. So yeah.
I think particularly when people are gone for more than 5 or 7 years, they start to appreciate that you don't get anywhere on your own, and the value of these kind of contacts. And so I've never asked any former student of UCD for help with current students in UCD and been told no, and they've been doing this for 30 years. So I entirely agree with that. Tom, final words to you.
Yeah, no, Elaine, Noel covered it really well there with that advice. The only other thing I'd say is marketing isn't just the skills that you learn, or certainly what I found is that when you join a business, they will look to marketing to help come up with solutions to the problem. So often, there's a problem. Marketing's job is often to take a leadership role and find out, well, how do we do that? And often it's not the kind of the functional knowledge that it's being able to find the right solution to that problem. Be it comms, or be it new product development, or finding niche in the market, or a great trading strategy. So just be open to that. That I think it's a great career from that perspective, that you will join a company and you won't just get a chance to kind of to share what you learn, but you will learn, and you'll learn a lot about business. You'll learn a lot about how the business works, and also how to grow the business. I mean, I used to work in a company before Green Isle where they called marketing growth. It was just part of this called growth function. That's what its job was. It was to grow the business, pure and simple. However you do that, you come up with the ways to do that. So I think just if you can keep that broad view of it open, I think that's a good approach.
A number of years ago, I asked a graduate of the BCom and our MBA program. He won't mind me sharing his name. It was Sean Murray, who's now retired, but he used to be director of marketing for Kraft Foods, which some of you might know, and also later Bupa, which is a big health insurance company that was active in Ireland at the time. And I asked Sean, what is the key advice I should give graduates? And he said, have an attitude. He said, it doesn't matter what the attitude is, as long as it's not a bad attitude. So I think for me, what that means is read the newspaper. You don't have to read the Financial Times every day, but it's free in UCD to read the Financial Times. Have a look at it a couple of times a week. Have a look at The Economist a couple of times a week. There are cool people to follow on Twitter. Byron Sharp is a legend in our field. Mark Ritson is a legend in our field. Highly entertaining. I don't agree with everything that they say, but follow them on LinkedIn and follow them on Twitter, because they'll educate you for free. Follow our three friends here on LinkedIn, because they will educate you for free. And as was said, is to be open, but develop an attitude. As long as it's not a bad one, I think you're well set. On behalf of the group and the College of Business, thanks so much to Noel and to Elaine and to Tom for coming back. We don't write to you every year and say we celebrate your success, but I promise you we do celebrate your success. And Maeve and Aoife and the Dean and I and me and Mita, all of us are so proud of what our graduates achieve in every field. But we in marketing are particularly proud of what our marketing graduates achieve, and how we find people all over the world, literally, who are doing tremendous things in marketing. So congratulations on your success. Thanks for sharing your wonderful insights with us tonight. Continued success. And myself and my colleagues in marketing are happy to talk to anybody about careers in marketing anytime. Enjoy the rest of the evening. Thanks again, friends, and see you next time. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, folks.
Guys.
Thanks, Damian.
Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.